Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today we're unpacking a really fascinating topic that sits right squarely at the intersection of culinary art and operational science. We're looking at the ultimate business of perfect rice. More specifically, we're breaking down the absolute commercial powerhouse that is 1121 Golden Sella Basmati. So if you've ever managed a commercial kitchen, handled food and bev procurement, or honestly just wondered how industrial-scale hospitality works so flawlessly behind the scenes, you are going to love the insights we have lined up for you today. Let's get into it. So right off the bat, you have to ask yourself, why do the world's absolute top commercial kitchens choose one specific type of rice? I mean, from luxury fine dining establishments all the way to massive catering operations feeding literally thousands of people, they all seem to zero in on this one specific ingredient. Out of hundreds of varieties out there, why 1121 Golden Sella Basmati? Well, the answer isn't just about taste. It's actually about cold, hard data and reliable commercial performance. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our data-driven roadmap for today. 1. The Golden Sella advantage. 2. Yield versus elongation. 3. Cooking methods compared. 4. Matching rice to your business. 5. Global markets. And finally, 6. A procurement framework. Let's kick things off with Section 1, the Golden Sella advantage. When we talk about this specific grain, we really aren't just talking about a nice-tasting side dish. The entire reputation of 1121 Golden Sella is built on very specific, highly measurable performance metrics that actively drive profitability in the food service industry. World-class processors like AHK Rice over in Punjab, Pakistan, produce this variety through heavily controlled parboiling and precision milling. And that rigorous process? It ensures exceptional cooking yield, remarkable grain elongation, and most importantly, a reliable commercial performance that chefs can basically bet their jobs on batch after batch. Moving right along to Section 2, yield versus grain elongation. These are the two biggest metrics you absolutely have to know. First up, let's talk about cooking yield. By definition, this is the increase in cooked rice volume and weight that you get from raw rice after boiling or steaming it. So why does this matter so much? Well, think about it. Restaurants buy their rice by weight, right? But they serve it by volume. So a higher cooking yield literally means you can serve more plates from the exact same bag of raw material. It is a massive deal for margins. Next up is grain elongation. Now, this is the measurement of how much each individual grain increases in length during the cooking process, while still holding its shape. This metric is all about the visuals. Premium basmati grains should get noticeably longer without turning into a sticky mess or breaking apart. It directly drives that premium, high-end presentation that paying customers absolutely expect to see on their plate. And this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate balancing act of the commercial kitchen. On one hand, you have cooking yield, which dictates your portion cost, your overall volume, and your kitchen efficiency. That is your bottom line. But on the other hand, you have grain elongation, which dictates the visual presentation, serving consistency, and that premium appeal. That is your customer experience. Commercial buyers basically have to evaluate both of these factors together because they touch everything from profit margins all the way down to customer satisfaction. Just look at this data point, 3.2 kilograms. Under standardized cooking conditions, 1 single kilogram of raw 1121 Golden Sella can actually yield up to 3.2 kilograms of cooked rice. I mean, that is huge! This massive yield is exactly why operators can drastically lower their per-serving costs without having to sacrifice an ounce of quality. But to hit numbers like that, you need some seriously tight export specifications. The raw grain usually starts around 8.2 to 8.5 millimeters, but once it's cooked, it stretches out to an impressive 17 to 21 millimeters. That is up to 2.5 times its original length. Throw in a super strict 1 to 5% broken grade standard, and you are basically guaranteed excellent grain separation and structure every single time. All right, Section 3, commercial cooking methods compared. Because how you cook it changes everything. When we look impartially at the three main commercial prep methods, the trade-offs become super clear. First, steam cooking. This gives you excellent elongation and yield, preserving the grain structure perfectly, but the speed is moderate and the labor involved is pretty medium. Then there's the absorption method. This one offers very good elongation, excellent yield, and importantly, low labor because it just doesn't need as much babysitting. Finally, pressure cooking. Here, the speed is incredibly fast and labor is super low, but you do sacrifice a little bit on elongation, dropping from excellent down to just good. It really all comes down to the specific trade-offs your kitchen can handle. Which brings us nicely to Section 4, matching rice to your business. So if you're operating a premium restaurant, presentation is everything. Chefs crafting luxury biryani or pulao have to prioritize maximum elongation and stunning grain appearance above all else. Because of that, steam cooking is practically mandatory. The highly controlled heating preserves every single grain, making sure they stay totally separate. Yeah, the prep time is longer for sure, but in fine dining, that flawless visual appeal is 100% worth it. Now, if you are a hotel food and beverage director, or maybe you run a massive catering operation, your needs are totally different. You have to prioritize consistency across hundreds, maybe thousands of buffet and banquet servings. You demand predictable food costs. So for you, the absorption method is basically your best friend. It gives you the best balance of reliable cooking yield and highly repeatable quality across multiple kitchens with way less direct supervision required. And then we have institutional kitchens. Think hospitals, large universities, military bases, and of course, food manufacturers. When your job is serving thousands of meals every single day, ultimate production speed is the name of the game. Pressure cooking is the go-to here to drastically cut down prep time. Also, frozen meal manufacturers rely heavily on the sheer structural strength of Golden Sella's parboiled grains because they hold their integrity beautifully even after being frozen and reheated in the microwave. Let's zoom out a bit for Section 5, Global Markets and Economics. Now, what's really interesting about this is how different international regions have completely distinctly different buying priorities. It's like two different worlds. The U.S. market heavily prioritizes the ultra-premium 1% to 2% broken grades. They highly value that extra long grain and a perfectly uniform plate appearance. But contrast that with the Middle East, places like Saudi Arabia and the UAE. There, massive hospitality groups commonly purchase the 5% broken grades instead, placing their highest value on traditional elongation and aroma for classic dishes like mandi and kabsa. If we look at the indicative export pricing projected for 2026, we see the premium 1% to 2% broken grade running between $12.50 and $14.20 per metric ton. The premium 5% broken sits just slightly lower, and the commercial grade comes in between $10.50 and $11.80. But here is the critical, shared factor that is a real game changer. Thanks to the parboiling process making the grains so durable, all of these grades feature an incredibly resilient shelf life of up to 24 months as long as they're stored in controlled warehouse conditions. 2 years! But hey, we have to keep this balance, right? The advantages are super clear. Higher yield, which lowers costs, stunning elongation, strong grains, and amazing buffet holding texture. But the limitations are very real too. This rice does carry a higher upfront cost than your standard long grain rice. It requires precise soaking times, and listen, if your kitchen doesn't standardize exact water ratios, you will absolutely ruin the product's elongation and quality. And trust me, literally nobody wants to be the chef responsible for 50 pounds of mushy buffet rice. Finally, Section 6, the Procurement Decision Framework. When evaluating suppliers, it should always be about measurable criteria, not just flashy marketing claims. Buyers need to look for tightly controlled processing and strict traceability from the patty all the way to the package. You need lab testing and moisture reports to verify what you're buying. You want customized packaging that fits your market and absolutely flawless export and phytosanitary compliance. Integrated exporters, like AHK Rice we mentioned earlier, serve as a really prime example of providing this kind of standardized, end-to-end processing standard. So the crucial point here is perfectly summarized by this overarching operational philosophy. Buyers achieve better profitability when they evaluate cooking yield and elongation together rather than relying only on purchase price. Basically, selecting the right combination of rice grade and cooking method produces vastly better operational outcomes than just trying to hunt down the cheapest initial invoice cost. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final provocative question to really think about for your own procurement and kitchen operations. Are you buying for price, or are you buying for performance? Because as we've seen today with 1121 Golden Sella Basmati, true value is measured right there on the plate and in the total volume of servings, not just on that initial invoice. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive. Keep optimizing those kitchens, and I'll catch you next time.